Welcome to the glorious River Wye in Herefordshire. River Wye is a venue that I started fishing as a young man, and it's somewhere that is particularly close to my heart as it offers the sort of fishing that I really enjoy. It's a venue that over the years has changed, and the last few years have seen these really huge weights come out. And today we're sat on peg 96. Now if there were 7 wonders of the angling world, this peg would certainly be one of them. There's no doubt that you'll have seen the records that this peg has produced over the years, and it's a peg that has actually changed. When I first started fishing this river, it was all about big chub. I can remember days when Dave Harrell caught 2 fish for 14 pounds. It was about specie waggler fishing and feeder fishing for these big resident chub. But in more recent years, this peg has become absolutely stuffed full of roach, dace and chublets. It's a peg I've actually been lucky enough to draw several times in the past, but on very different days. I remember the first time I drew it, the river was right at the top of the bank, and it actually makes this peg very difficult to fish because it's a very quick peg. It's pushing down the river here off the match length and into the bridge below me. And as that water really tunnels through the peg, it just gets too quick. And I was itching for the opportunity to draw this peg on a day that allowed me to fish to my strengths on the float and really try and catch one of these big bags of fish that I know the peg's capable of producing. And that day came. Adrian Whittle came back from the team draw with a look on his face that meant only one thing: peg 96 was in the bag. And fortunately enough, it was mine. I couldn't wait to have a go. But what that means is, on a day when everybody is waiting to see what the peg is going to produce, there's an amount of pressure on you. But it's important to approach the day in a way that you get the most out of it, and that for me is enjoyment. I looked at it on the day and thought that there was always going to be a chance of catching a big weight of fish. But how I went about it was to fish to my strengths, and that was on the whip and stick float. It's not a very deep peg, only about 4 or 5 feet. As you can see, I've got a long way out into the river, and I really set my stall on trying to catch the fish as close to me as I possibly could, which goes against the grain a little bit on rivers. Quite often you think of chub as being out in the flow in the middle of the river and very wary fish, but with the volume of fish that I know is on this peg, there was a real opportunity to draw these fish close to me and try and really maximise the weight. The weeks before I'd drawn the peg, there'd been some enormous catches, not only from this peg but the pegs above it, up to about 145 pounds, which on any river is massive. So it was my opportunity on the day to catch what I thought was going to be a huge weight of about 150 pounds. So at the start of the match, I set my stall out on catching those fish. I balled in my ground bait, hoping to suck these fish as close to me as I possibly could. Started on the stick float out into the river and just gradually tried to draw the fish close to me. I was a little bit worried because the start of the match, 10 minutes in, I hadn't caught a fish, but then I got my first bite on the stick float, probably about a third of the way out. And from then on, it was a bite every chuck, gradually getting closer and closer until I felt comfortable enough that I could pick the pole stick float up. And from then on, it was incredible. Chub up to 4 pounds, all on the pole stick, averaging probably 8 ounces to a pound. It really was a bite of chuck, and one of those days that will live long in my memory. It was just phenomenal and just shows the strength of this river. There's lots of bad press about the pollution and all the issues we've got with our UK rivers at the moment, but I think the weights on this river really are testimony to the fact that actually they're in perfectly good shape, and there are these enormous bags of fish to be caught if you want to come out and enjoy them. So come the weigh in, I knew I got a big weight. I didn't know exactly what I'd got. Rumour on the bank was that I got around about 180 pounds, which I have to be honest, I didn't believe. But I got off my box, looked at my 2 keep nets that were in the water, and I could see the volume of chub in the nets and thought there was a chance of having a really big weight. At the time, the Wye Belmont record was held by Spud Murphy and was about 160 pounds, and that had stood for almost 20 years. Spud's a phenomenal angler, and most people thought that that weight was actually out of reach. But I was delighted after we'd finished weighing in to weigh a total of 251 pounds of chub. I just couldn't believe it, and most of the anglers on the bank were really happy to see such a big bag of fish come off the peg, and long may it continue. I hope everybody that fishes this river has the opportunity of drawing this peg and tries to catch a similar or bigger weight of fish that I had the pleasure of catching that day. It really was a stunning day.